Analog horror, a genre of horror that has been growing on the internet over the past few years that I've been enjoying since the first time I've seen one long ago. I still remember the first time I watched a Wendigoon video about the Mandela catalog, which led me to binge watch his other videos on other analog horror for hours. Until his videos turned into my white noise for bedtime. Seriously, I have Wendigoon's Blood Meridian video downloaded on my phone, and I always fall asleep 5 minutes into the video. Anyway, we're not talking about Wendigoon today, so I'm putting him away until it's bedtime again.
How gay are you?
Today, I'm going to look at the Inside Out analog horror by a Venezuelan content creator called L37-K72. His story takes place inside Riley. Wait, how old is Riley? Oh, better rephrase my words. So this story is about Riley and the emotions that work inside of her. A malevolent entity has infected and altered Riley's emotions and is trying to control Riley into doing something bad. The first victim of this entity is Joy, who turned into a creepier version of herself over time. In my opinion, the creator probably took some inspiration from the alternates of the Mandela catalog. I mean, there is a resemblance there, right? No? It's just me? What do you mean I said too much? What the fuck? After the entity has successfully infected joy, envy, and embarrassment, we see some of the other emotions were taken out, leaving fear, anxiety, and ennui to figure out how to save Riley. And there is a reason for that. As we see in this part, a memory has been playing over and over again in Riley's head. From Riley's perspective, and from ours as well, it looks like they were in a terrible accident and Riley now believes that her parents are dead. This caused Riley to fall into a deep depression, and Joy has been trying to remove this memory to no avail. The reason why fear, anxiety, and especially ennui are still able to function is because Riley has fallen into depression. And the reason why sadness isn't part of the survivors is because sadness is not a major contributor to depression, and it's actually the feeling of hopelessness and dissatisfaction that leads to worse symptoms. It's kind of like the feeling you get when you play a game of Valorant and your teammate insta-locks your raise and bot frags hard. I'd probably crawl in bed and never get up after that too. But for Riley, the entity wants to plant a more permanent idea into her mind. And it would have worked too if not for Riley's mom coming just in the nick of time to save her. Riley is visibly confused by the fact that her parents are alive, and Riley's mom figured that she might have been forgetting to take her meds. What medication was Riley on? If we take a closer look, Riley's taking quetiapina or quetiapine, a drug that is used to treat mental disorders like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, which the creator implies that Riley is suffering from a mix of both, but leans more on the bipolar side. Seriously, he has a video called Bipolar, so it couldn't be more on the nose. But let's focus on the entity. What exactly is it? Trauma? Well, the title of Volume 1 would definitely point to that, and if we believe that the accident really occurred, then it might be a fit. We could also interpret the infection and removal of joy and the others as a form of emotional suppression, which is identified as a coping mechanism for people who have gone through traumatic experience. So the entity is trauma, right? Well, not exactly. Volume 2 shows us that some of Riley's memories are actually false thoughts, and this includes the memory of the accident. We even see Joy start to question the validity of the memory, and she seems to know that the entity has been there for months, even before the accident. So none of it was real in the first place. There was no accident, and Riley has started to dissociate from reality. So if it's not trauma, then what is it? Well, Volume 2 suggests another suggestion in its title. We have film theorists to thank for that because they identified it as a Caesar cipher that spelled the word psychosis, the Spanish word for psychosis, which makes sense. The entity has been feeding Riley false thoughts for months. The meds were probably helping her suppress her symptoms, but when she forgets to take them, the entity goes on the attack, and that's when it infects Joy. Now I have another question. Why did the entity infect Joy first? We could assume that it's because Joy has always been the lead when it comes to managing Riley's emotions, but I think there's a deeper meaning to it. A symptom of bipolar disorder is extreme mood swings or mania, which is what I would call the altered joy. She is a representation of a manic high in Riley's mind, hence why she was the first victim. She is the extreme opposite of our surviving trio. I have to give props to the creator because there's just so much to unpack from the story he created. The more I look into the videos, the more I realize that there are things I didn't really bother to think about the first time I watched. For example, when Envy was infected and she helped Joy get out of the jar, I thought it was just a way to push the story forward. But it turns out the jealousy is an emotion that could be intensified by being bipolar, hence why Envy was the next one to get infected. It's just such good storytelling, and it makes it more fun to analyze each part of the video. Here's another part of the video that I believe to be of great significance. At some point, infected Joy catches up to our trio. We see her stalking them with bloody hands and a maniacal expression on her face. The next thing we see, Ennui has blown a giant hole through Joy's head. Yet somehow, her eyes are intact. Did the pellets just miss her eyeballs or did they just bounce off? Anyway, I believe that this scene could represent Riley's mood swing from extreme joy to epic lows and dissatisfaction. This could have been a literal and metaphorical pulling of the trigger that pushed Riley into attempting self-deletion. And as Fear said, only a miracle could save Riley. And that miracle came in the form of Riley's mom. There's just so much meaning behind each moment, and when they come together, it's a beautiful and bittersweet moment that leaves me in awe with the creator's storytelling prowess. The fact that Riley's mom came to rescue her symbolizes the importance of having a good support network. One of the biggest problems we tell ourselves is that we have to deal with our problems and emotions all on our own. We convince ourselves that we will only be a burden to others if we ever ask for help, and it's been one of the biggest reasons why so many have lost their lives. A recent article published by the World Health Organization claims that over 726,000 people take their own life every year. And I'm going to take this moment to provide a public service announcement. Do not be afraid to reach out to someone. You're not a burden. You're not worthless. You have value, and there are people who want you around. I promise that life is worth living, so just take it one day at a time. Even in this little video, we get to see that there is hope for Riley, and there is hope for you as well. Now, the family is trying to provide treatment for Riley, hence the drugs on her table, but it's not really that simple. Getting an accurate diagnosis for psychological disorders can be very hard because some have overlapping symptoms, and bipolar disorder comes in a spectrum. And not only do drugs have varying effectiveness among patients, they also have side effects that could only make things worse. Children are even more susceptible to these side effects and can often lead to thoughts of self-harm and self-deletion. There is no single treatment that works for a majority of patients. It's a trial and error kind of treatment, and time is one of the most valuable resources. This little piece of analog horror content was a good experience for me. The storytelling is quite entertaining, the symbols and metaphors were fun to analyze, and it ends with a message of hope. The sound effects that were used to give the characters' voices were so hilarious and so out of place that I didn't know if it took me out of the horror or if it enhanced the experience for me. But I had a great time laughing nonetheless. As a piece of fiction, it was enjoyable for what it is. As a PSA dressed up as an analog horror, I can't help but appreciate the creativity and the uniqueness of this video. It took a very sensitive topic and found a way to talk about it in a fun and creepy way, without becoming distasteful to the subject matter. That's all for today. Leave a like and comment what you think, and I will see you guys next time.